Welcome to Life Today. I'm Randy Robison. I've got the pastor of VOO Church, Rich Wilkerson Jr. is with me, and he's got a new book. I don't know who he's talking about. I think he's talking about himself. It's called Friend of Sinners. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I love it. All your book titles go from like, oh, they're right up on the...
That one's actually a big debate because we wanted to be even more on the spine.
Yeah.
And we got just a little bit of it on the spine.
You did.
And we wanted to be a lot more. Really inspired by like architecture books and whatnot. And so all the design of those books they always break the rules. So
Is it?
we tried to break the rules, but I think it ended up coming off like people think we made a mistake.
I like that, though, because this is about breaking the rules.
There you go, exactly. Right, it's about it's about rules, but it's actually about relationship with Jesus. And it's funny that you said, maybe, who's he talking about here? I had a friend, or I have a friend who's like kind of on the journey of faith, not really a Christian yet. I told him when I was writing this book, I'm writing this book called Friend of Sinners. He says, bro, you can't do that. What do you mean? He's like, all your friends will be so mad at you.
That's funny.
But I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not the friend. I'm the sinner in the title. So
you're the sinner in the title.
You have to always let people know, I think I'm the sinner, but I think the more we follow the friend, which is Jesus, we then become friend of sinners as well. But really, it's ultimately about Jesus being the friend of sinners.
That was controversial then.
Yep.
And I think, as you probably know, given some of the people that have come through your church that people have then tagged you with, right?
Sure.
And then criticized you for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's controversial.
Well, that's what I like about the title. I think there's so much that in this day and age where people are looking for something that's like provocative or some kind of a title that's like racy. I think going back to Jesus, like he has all of that around him.
Yeah, he did.
We just get familiar with him, that we become unfamiliar with him. That it's like, yeah, they called him the friend of sinners. In 2018 years ago, that was quite provocative. Mm-hmm. If you consider it right now, it still is.
They'll actually call you, they'll say you're not a Christian.
Exactly. I'm like, do you know who
right.
And that's really where the book came from. I wrote a book prior, which you guys let me come and talk about one time, called Sandcastle Kings. And when I was kind of talking about that book, I was so amazed everywhere I went how people would go back to people that I'm associated with or have friendships with.
Right.
And on one occasion, I took a picture with somebody who's well known, and it got posted on Instagram, and all these comments came back, a lot of which were really negative from Christian people. But somebody said, how on earth could you associate yourself with a person like that?
Right. Do they not realize, if they're a Christian, do they not realize what they just said?
And my response was easy. It's like, because Jesus chooses to associate himself with me. And so right then and there, I'm like, I feel like there's something here that something needs to be added to the conversation here about reminding us who we are, who our Savior is, and what this whole thing about being a Christian even is all about. So that's really what we're trying to discover in that book.
Okay, I have another serious question for you, but before your last book cover, Sandcastle Kings.
Yeah.
Who did the book cover? Was that Kanye?
A guy named Kanye West did the artwork for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was just our team. That's probably why we didn't get it to line up on the book all the way, right? They messed it up.
You still, I'm not going to go to that road.
Yeah, absolutely. Still do, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, friend of ours.
So here's the tough question.
Yeah.
Actually, A.R. Bernard, you know who he is?
Yeah.
He sat right there and he said something that stuck with me, and this is probably the 20th time I've quoted this.
Well, he's quite a smart man.
He's brilliant. So he says, grace gets us into people's world, the sinner's world. Truth gets them out.
It's beautiful.
Right? So how do we be a friend of sinners when we're the friend,
Yeah.
and stay, unstained by the world?
Sure.
To throw around a biblical phrase, right?
I think there's layers, and obviously that's the premise of this book, but I think first and foremost, Jesus, as he did life with, he did life with 12 dudes, but then he actually even had 3 guys within that 12 that he was really in close proximity of relationship with. And so I think the idea is that people that we're the closest with, the people that we're doing, we need to have people that are like-minded, same convictions, that are gonna help us move forward. I think relationships are everything in life, The people you choose to do life with are the people you're gonna look like and behave like. And so I think for me in my life, it's like the people that are closest to me, I want them to be Christ followers. I want them to be people that believe in my dreams. I want them to be people that know the man that I want to be, holding me accountable to that.
Yeah.
But I think there's this other side of us that we have to make sure that we remember who we were before Jesus. That before Jesus, I wasn't bad. I was dead in my sin. And Jesus came and he saved me. But the way that he saved me typically is that somebody pointed me to him, somebody introduced me to him.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to get too far away from the world that we quit befriending the world and building relationships with the world. And we see Jesus do this so many different times, right? He goes to the party, he's there at the wedding, he's sitting with sinners, and he's having conversations. And I love what A.R. Bernard says. I would fully agree with that statement. John chapter 1 says that Jesus, he came full of grace and full of truth. Not a balance between the two, but full of both.
Right.
Yet the thing that I love about grace and truth is that he is equally full of both. Yet I think the order does matter. He didn't come full of truth and grace. He came full of grace and truth. So it's grace first, truth second. That's what our services should look like. That's what relationship looks like. Let's connect before I try to correct. Let's let grace go forth before I'm giving you any type of truth. Because Zig Ziglar, now we're quoting Zig Ziglar, he used to always say, people don't care how much you know, do they know how much you care?
Yeah.
And I think just in our journey of faith and our journey of building the church, I'm always trying to build a relation with somebody before I'm trying to tell them my truth, which is the truth of Jesus, or anything else for that matter. I'd like to try to relate to somebody, get to know somebody, ask them questions. I like to share my life. And I think out of love, out of grace, out of acceptance, that's when I get a chance to actually speak into someone's life. It was funny, literally just last night, we had a really beautiful worship night at our church, and afterwards we had a kind of big after party. I was sitting with a young man from our church. I say young man, he's a year younger than me. But he's just in a space right now where he's needing some guidance, some counsel. And so we were chatting about his life and the trajectory of his life and the vision for his life. And he was really asking me for some of that counsel. Well, today I woke up and he shot me a text just saying, thank you so much, how much it meant to him. But my response back to him was, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to even speak into your life. Yet I know the only reason why I got the opportunity to speak into his life is not because he thinks I'm so wise or because I'm such a great preacher or because he sees me as so different. It's because we've sat many different times and there's been deposits and there's been affirmation and there's been encouragement, and he's watched my life off the platform that now he's going, maybe I can trust this guy enough to give me some truth about what he sees for me. But it was done so out of grace before all that.
You were a friend first.
There you go. And that's what I think the church has got to get. Like, I think people are desperate for Jesus. Christians keep getting in the way. I keep getting in the way. And so if we can get back to the premise of going, do I love somebody because I want them to change, or do I love someone where they're at? And I love them in spite and despite of all of their weaknesses. I think being lost or being a sinner, if you will, that shouldn't make me angry at you. That shouldn't make me frustrated with you.
Right.
That should truly make me love you even more, that I want to introduce you the truth, which is Jesus. But if I really want you to meet Jesus, I got to make sure that I'm serving this to you in the correct way, that you can hear it with where you're at.
Yeah. Who was it? One of the early church fathers said, preach the gospel loudly and
use words when necessary,
right?
I believe it. I think our life, we say at our church, I want my living to be better than my preaching. And the moment my preaching is better than my life, we're in trouble. And so I don't want to just preach good sermons on Sunday. I want to live out sermons all throughout the week, and that's called being the church, right? Not doing church, but being church. We didn't sign up to be professional preachers and professional Christians. I signed up because I really love Jesus. He really saved me, and I really love people. And it just so happens now that he's routed me into this area that I get to do that full time, and now I get paid for it, but that was never in the cards. It was always about, man, Jesus saved me, and I love him. And I love people so much. I want them to know what I feel. I want them to get this exact same experience. So we got to keep coming back to that.
I love the beauty and simplicity of it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's good. Get back to the core. Check out his book. Do you have a website just for the book?
We have a website just for the book. It's called friendofsinners.cc.
Something. It's on the screen right now. You see it right there?
I should know this stuff.
Right there.
Oh my gosh, it's a pink book. Everybody needs a pink book in their house.
And then where do you send people for the church or your stuff?
VooChurch.com.
That one,
Yeah, that's the one I know. There is a website. I feel awful.
It's okay, because it was on the screen,
there.
And they were distracted by the banner.
Praise God, there's professionals around here.
All right, and there's more from this guy on Live Today. You can see that on the broadcast show. That's at lifetoday.org. Thank you for watching and sharing this interview. Be sure to check out the social media for Live Today Television, and you can connect with me on Facebook and Twitter. And if you haven't already subscribed or followed this channel, do it now so you can see more of our great guests.